Hi, hello. How are you, dear friends and students? Hope you are doing well. And we have discussed atomic structure number one in the last class. And in the present session, we are going to start atomic structure number two. Okay, this is all what we have discussed in the last session. Quantum theory, photoelectric effect, as well as the spectrum, and all these things. Now today we're going to start discuss about the developments in atomic structure. That means after Dalton theory, Thomson's and Rutherford's theories, Niels Bohr theory 1913 has started discussing about the energy levels, and most important breakthrough in the science, that is Bohr's theory. So that we will discuss in the today's session, as well as the drawbacks of the Bohr's theory, which are how overcame by the modern theory called as quantum mechanics with a Schrodinger wave equation and atomic orbitals and electronic distribution. So this is all most important synopsis concepts we're going to give. So we will go into the class now. Let us start the class. Yeah, we're going to discuss about Bohr's model of atom in the beginning. So what is the actual content in this one is Rutherford's nuclear model, which is simply stated that atom had a nucleus and the negative electrons were present in outside the nucleus. They did not say anything how and where those electrons were arranged. It is also could not explain why electrons did not fail into nucleus, fall into the nucleus due to the electrostatic attraction. But in the 1913, Niels Bohr proposed a new model of atom, which explained some of these things and also emission spectrum of hydrogen. So that Bohr's theory was based on or Planck's quantum theory and was built on the following postulates. The postulates of Bohr's theory. Now I'll see what the most important first postulate is told is electrons travel around the nucleus in specific permitted circular orbits and in no others. That means other than orbits, electron won't revolve. So that specific circular paths here discussed that electrons in each orbit have different energy and are at a fixed distance from the nucleus. The orbits are given the letter designation n, and each is numbered 1, 2, 3, etc. or k, l, m, n, etc. as the distance from the nucleus increases. So that means k will be closer to the nucleus. L of that m, that means the number is increasing, automatic distance from the nucleus also increases, energy level of the electrons increases. What about the second one is while these specific orbits, an electron does not radiate or lose energy. That means each of these orbits of energy remains the same. It neither loses nor gains energy as far as the electron is present in the orbit. Hence, specific orbits available to electron in an atom are referred to as stationary energy levels or simply energy levels. That is the second one. Moving on to the third one, an electron can move from one energy level to another by quantum or photon jumps only. So when an electron resides in an orbit which is lowest in energy, that means which is also closest to the nucleus, then the electron is said to be in ground state. When the electron is supplied energy, it absorbs one quantum or photon of energy and jumps to higher energy level. That electron then has potential energy and E is said to be in an excited state. So now you can see these are the circular parts. This is the first orbit, this is the second orbit, this is the third orbit, the fourth orbit. So here these are orbit numbers and this is the nucleus. The electrons are not allowed in between these things. Okay. And electrons are said to be permitted in the circular orbits only. So these are circular orbits or stationary energy levels in an atom. Now you see the quantum or photon of energy absorbed or emitted is the difference between the lower and higher energy level of atom. That is delta E is equals to E higher energy, E lower energy, that is equals to h nu. Assuming it is 1, here it told h is the Planck's constant and nu is the frequency of photon emitted or absorbed energy. Now this is the fourth one, the angular momentum of an electron MVR orbiting around the nucleus is in integral multiple of Planck's constant divided by 2 pi. So this is the indication that MVR is equal to NH by 2 pi, assuming it is second equation. When M is the mass of electron, nu is the V is the velocity of electron, and R is the radius of orbit, and N values may be 1, 2, 3, etc. H is Planck's constant. Putting N value 1, 2, 3, we'll get respectively angular momentum value h by 2 pi for first orbit, second orbit h by pi, third orbit 1.5 h by pi, etc. So this can be no fractional value of h by 2 pi. That angular momentum is said to be quantized. That means the integer n in equation 2 can be used to designate an orbit, and a corresponding energy level n is called as principal quantum number. So you can see here photon absorbed energy here. Electron starts jumping from this level to this level and jump after that photon emitting energy. The energy is decreased. So these are the two pictures giving clarity about an electron absorbs a photon of light while it jumps from lower energy level to higher energy level. In this picture I am showing an orbit, and a photon is emitted while it returns to the original lower energy level. So this is the picture telling about how it returns back to the original energy level. These are the main points. Not only this one, this Bohr theory telling about the calculation of radius of orbits. And considering these charges G, and Z is the atomic number, E is the charge in the proton, M is the mass of electron, R is the radius of orbit, and V is the tangential velocity of the evolving electron. Then Coulomb's law is telling that electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and electron is given as Z square by R square, and minus Z square by R square. The centrifugal force acting on the electron is given as mv square by r. Actually both are same to stay safe in the atom. That means when an electron is stable, then both these will be equal. So Bohr assumed that these two opposing forces must be balancing each other exactly to keep the electron in orbit. That is equally taken. For hydrogen, if you consider Z is 1, so E square by R square will be m E square by R. After they reduced these expressions from this picture, see that is the nucleus and force of attraction here like this, and this is the tangential velocity, and this is the centrifugal force. And after getting this one, we got forces are keeping electron in orbit. First equation considered as E square by R square is equal to mv square by R. And the second equation, which is taken as E square by R, is equals to mv square. Means after simplifying this one only. Now, according to Bohr's one of the postulates, the angular momentum is quantized. So for this equation, you'll say mvr is equal to ns by 2 pi. From this, we can find velocity, and that velocity can be substituted in the second equation. What we have here, that is mv square, E square value is mv square. Thereby, you will get the radius value n square h square by 4 pi square me square. Since the value of h, m and e had been determined experimentally, substituting these values in this expression, we will get the radius value for nth orbit is n square into 0.529 into 10 power minus 8 centimeters is taken as equation. So for n here is called as principal quantum number, and hence the number of orbit, that is, if when n is equals to 1 for hydrogen case, the equation 5 will become like this: r is equals to 0.529 angstrom units, or alpha naught or a naught you can take. So this a naught or alpha naught, the quantity will call it as Bohr's radius, was taken as Bohr to be the radius of the hydrogen atom in the ground state, and this value reasonably constant, and other information on the size of the atoms, where n is equal to 2, 3, 4, etc. The value of the second and third orbits of hydrogen comprising the electron in the excited state can be calculated. So that is, you can see here, that is said to be energy radius of that one. Now we'll see the energy of the electron in an orbit, how can be calculated. For hydrogen atom, the energy of revolving electron E is the sum of the kinetic energy of mv square and the potential energy minus E square by R. We have already E square by R formula, is mv square we deduced in this expression. So if that is substituted, then the energy value expression will become 1 by 2 mv square minus E square by R. And substituting this mv square value that we got is E value minus E square by 2R, because mv square value is E square by R, that is substituting this above expression. We got minus E square by 2R as an expression for energy. Then after the radius is substituting this energy expression, got minus 2 pi square me power 4 by n square, h square is the energy expression for Bohr's orbit. So substituting all these things, m, e, h and all in the equation, ninth equation, they are given energy value in erg per atom, joule per atom, joule per mole, kilojoule per mole, kilocalories per mole, even electron volts per mole also they are given. So this is what the values we have to remember for examination point of view. Now let us see why this energy is given as a negative value. Because energy of electron is at infinity is arbitrarily assumed to be zero. The state is a zero energy state. When electron moves and comes under the influence of nucleus, it does come work and spends its energy in this process. Thus, the energy of the electron decreases and it becomes less than zero. It acquires a negative value. So, to say its energy is decreasing when it is closer to the nucleus, this energy should be given as negative value. That's why the energy expressions, all the energy values here given is a negative value only. Now, let us see the Bohr's explanation for hydrogen spectrum. How hydrogen spectrum explained by Bohr's theory. And this solitary electron hydrogen atom of an ordinary temperature resides the first orbit, n value 1, and is the lowest state, the ground state. In this, when energy is applied to hydrogen gas, what will happen? Discharge tube, electron moves to higher energy level to the higher energy levels from ground state to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Depending on the quantity of energy absorbed. From these higher energy levels, electron again come back by irradiating that energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So this gives an excellent explanation of various spectral lines of hydrogen. So this we can observe here, Lyman series is said to be observed, and the electron returns from the ground state, n is equals to 1. So in Lyman series, electron is coming from higher energy level to ground state and is equal to 1. The N2 values are taken is 2, 3, etc. And similarly, Balmer series we have, Paschen is there, bracket is there, fund is there. They are produced when the electron returns to the second, third, fourth, and fifth. This is second, this is third, this is fourth, this is fifth levels respectively. In this picture we are observing. This is sixth one. Anybody ask this? Humphrey series. Now we have a picture about this all series. This series is there. In this we have ultraviolet region is Lyman. Balmer series is visible, Paschen, bracket, fund or infrared region. Only Balmer series lines we can observe where N2 value is coming from, starting from 3 and also and so on. But N1 value should be 2 for this Balmer series. Now, in this picture, you can observe that in hydrogen spectrum, the lines here, H alpha, H beta, H gamma lines, that the values here noticed as 4102, 4102 angstrom units, 4340 angstrom units, and 4861, 6563 angstrom units, like that, from the experimental results. That means this is the explanation of spectral lines hydrogen in a visible region. These lines you can call it as H alpha, H beta, H gamma, H delta lines. Now, the value of that Rydberg constant is there in that mathematical expression is said to be the original empirical Balmer equation. That is the energy, if you write for N1, that expression will come like this, minus 2 pi square me power 4 by N1 square H square. N2, if you write like this, from the differences from the Bohr theory, the difference common factor is 2 pi square me power 4 by H square. And that common, the value here is this value, and the other one is 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square. But according to Planck's, we know that this change in energy is hc by lambda. That is introduced in this one. And after simplification, we got a new bar. That means 1 by lambda value is equals to r into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2. That means this Rydberg constant is equals to 2 pi square e power 4 m by ch cube. That is the value. So of that, substitute all the values of e, m, h, c, and pi values. So e got 109677 centimeter inverse. That is called Rydberg constant value. That means this calculation of wavelength of spectral lines of hydrogen in the visible region can be done using this expression for Balmer series, that is N1 value is 2. So this formula you can use for Balmer series. We'll see a problem here. Find the wavelength in angstrom units of the line and Balmer series that is associated with the drop of electron from the 4th orbit. The value of Rydberg constant given 10967776. Okay, the wavelength lines of Balmer series formula we have. This is the formula. In this formula, they told 4th orbit means N2 value is from the 4th orbit. N2 value is taken as 4. After taking N2 values 4. Just a minute. This is this should be N2 value drop from the 3rd orbit. Okay. So then you will get the LCM of the simplification. We got 6561 is the value for this one. Okay. And this wavelength value got 6561. Next, what are the shortcomings of this Bohr theory? That means Bohr theory drawbacks is spectacularly unsuccessful for every other atom other than more than one electron. That means other than hydrogen. We no longer believe in well-defined electron orbits as was assumed by Bohr. That means how the orbits assumed, and that confusion is there. Another one is Bohr's model of electronic structure could not account for the ability of atom to form molecules through chemical bonds. That is not explained. That means today we only accept Bohr's views regarding quantization, as nobody has explained the atomic spectra without numerical quantization, and no longer attempted a description of atoms on classical mechanics. And one more important, most important drawback here is Bohr's theory could not explain the effect of magnetic field, that is Zeeman effect, and that of Stark effect, that means electric effect on the spectra of atom. That is splitting of spectral lines in the presence of magnetic field is called as Zeeman effect, and splitting of spectral lines in the presence of electric field is called as Stark effect. These effects are not explained by Bohr's theory. These are the drawbacks. Now, the spectral lines of for hydrogen atom. The atoms of hydrogen in the gaseous tube emit radiations, and that lines we observed just now. And this is the expression, we'll call it as Balmer's equation. And in this equation, R value for nth orbit can be written as n square s square by 4 pi square mk z square, where all these formula, if you substitute the value, substitute, then R value can write 0.53 also approximately. Z value we can write for hydrogen is 1, the other, then hydrogen you have to substitute. And from this, the velocity also calculates 2.165 10 to the power of 6 into Z by N meter per second. And this calculation is giving different units of this energy that we have already observed. In that, whatever the K is there in this expression, the K, that K is given as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is a permittivity constant. And E is the charge in the electron, M is the mass of the electron, and H is the Planck's constant. Permittivity constant is 8.9 10 to the power of 8 will be there. So that will be substituted. And Bohr's value, the value is the first orbit of hydrogen. The radius is this one, and the Bohr's velocity is 2.161 10 to the power of 6 meter per second. Energy is minus 13.6 electron volts per atom. Velocity, number of revolutions is V by 2 pi R. And to find the total number of spectral lines, we have one case is, that is the first case, that is electron jumps from nth orbit to ground state. Then we will use this formula, that is n into n minus 1 by 2. If you say it is n value is 4, the number of lines will be 6. In that we can calculate it. But the other case you have to find the number of spectral lines is when electrons comes from n2 to n1. Don't know what is the higher energy level. Then taking n2 and lower energy level is n1. Then the number of lines formed can be n2 minus n1 into n2 minus n1 plus 1 by 2. Where suppose if you take n2 is 5, n1 is 2, then substituting the 5 and 2, 5 minus 2 into 5 minus 2 plus 1 by 2. Here we will get 4, this is 3, 4 3s are how much? 12 by 2, that is 6. So 6 will come as the lines. Come to the frequency of revolution, that is distance traveled in one revolution is called as frequency of revolution 2 pi r meter. The distance traveled in 2 pi r meter is 1 revolution. And this is the picture radius. So distance traveled in 1 meter is 1 by 2 pi r revolution. Distance traveled in V meters is V by 2 pi r, that is frequency. So time taken is nothing but distance traveled by the velocity, that is 2 pi r by V. Okay. Next, what is the wavelength of photon emitted during the transition from n1 is equals to 5 to n2 is equals to n1 is ni is 5, nf is 2. That means n2 is 5 and n1 is 2 in the hydrogen atom. So we'll substitute that value in the expression, that delta is equals to RH into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. Upon simplification, the energy we got is minus 4.58 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. And this relation between delta H, delta E and lambda, if you take from that, that is the formula, delta E is equals to Hc by lambda. So from this they have taken what is lambda? Lambda is equals to Hc by delta E. So that is what taken here and substituted the values, and finally they got 434 nanometers. And I come to the next one. Next question: the frequency of series of light limit of Lyman series is V1 series, and limit of Paschen series is V2, and the frequency of emission of electronic energy from 3 to 1 is V3. Find the relation between V1, V2 and V3. So here, this one you can understand from this picture: E1, E2, E3 energy levels, Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, and taken from that one is V1 is Lyman series is, that means V1, this is V1, and coming to the next one is V2 Paschen series, that is here, this is V2, here it is taken as V1, that is Lyman series. Coming to that one, another one is nothing but from Paschen to that Lyman here, 3 to 1, 3 to 1 means this V3 is Lyman series. So that one you have taken, that is E infinitive, that means E infinitive minus E1 is H nu 1. Second, E infinitive minus E3 is H nu 2. So that difference is taken as h nu 3, and from this figure you can write h nu 3 is equals to h nu 1 minus h nu 2. What is h nu 1? That is E1. What is h nu 2? That is h nu 3. E3 is nothing but this value substituted, and h nu 1 minus h nu 2, and finally h got cancelled, is nu 3 is equals to nu 1 minus nu 2. So here this relation we have found from this picture only, diagram. Now another one, find the longest wavelength of radiation which is required to pick out the electron from the first excited state to Paschen series. So first excited state is to Paschen series. What they are asking, the first excited state of Paschen series means n is equals to 4. That means Paschen series n value is what? 3. So first excited state for that one is n value is 4. So then that is taken in that energy formula. E4 is equals to minus 13.6 into 1 by 4 square, and that is equals to 0.85 we got, equalized to hc by lambda. After that they are asking us to find the lambda energy and lambda relation we have given. So that relation is giving the value, that is 1 to 482 by 0.85 nanometers. Okay, so this is the simplification will give the answer. Now let us see the de Broglie's equation and dual nature theory, dual behavior of the matter. Subatomic particles are there, electron, proton, neutron are there. According to this one, matter has both particle as well as wave nature is there, and wave nature is taken by Davison and Germer experiment, diffraction pattern experiment on nickel surface, and the patterns observed are found to be same as that of predicted by Bragg's X-rays experiment. That particle nature formula taken as E is equal to mc square, wave nature taken as E is equal to hc by lambda, both are equal, and after equalizing you got lambda is equal to h by mc. Considering the velocity is v, then it will become lambda is equal to h by mv. So that mass and value velocity product is what you will call P here, that is nothing but taken as P, and that P can also be written as m into v here. So if the particle has, more mass and momentum, it has less wave nature. The electron, proton, neutron is there. So neutron is heavier than proton, proton is heavier than electron. So electron can behave like a wave or particle. Heavy objects less wavelength due to the more mass, and the relation between that one is with the kinetic energy wavelength is given like this, that is h by square root of 2 m into ke, h by square root of 2 mev, and half mv square is equal to electron volt, ev potential difference, and that is all substituted to find the velocity formula. Finally we got square root of 2 ev by m is the velocity of that electron. Now according to de Broglie concept, these two pictures are possible, and this is said to be giving stability to the atom. So that is called as circumference of the orbit is equal to an integral number of wavelengths, and this is an allowed orbit. But circumference of this is not allowed an integral number of wavelengths. As a result, the electron wave does not close in on itself. This is not allowed. That means here n lambda can be equals to 2 pi r in this case. Now you see the de Broglie equation, that n lambda is equals to 2 pi r. From that nh by mv rearrangement we got a proof for Bohr's theory by de Broglie relationship. So in Bohr's theory, why mv is equal to nh by 2 pi is not explained, but in this theory clearly explained. So this is an advanced theory. So that relations and all we have observed. Now I'll see. Calculate the wavelength of a particle in the following two cases. A fastest serve in tennis is about 150 miles per hour or 68 meters per second. Calculate the wavelength associated with the 6 in 10 to the power of minus 2 kilograms tennis ball traveling at this speed. So they are given velocity, they are given mass, both. Then they can have to calculate the wavelength. And second one is calculate the wavelength associated with electron that is moving with 68 meter per second. So the electron mass is given. So let us see. The strategy is nothing but when we are given the mass and speed of the particle, A and B is asked to calculate the wavelength. So de Broglie wavelength expression we can substitute in this one. And lambda is equal to h by mv. In that formula substituted for the first problem, the value is 1.6 10 to the power of minus 34 meters is the answer for the wavelength. For the second problem, the same way, if you substitute the corresponding values, you will get 1.1 10 to the power of minus 5 meters. You can check it off. Now the another one is the two particles. Next question, the two particles A and B are in motion. If the wavelength associated with the particle A is 5 to the power of minus 8 meters, then calculate the wavelength associated with the particle B if its momentum is half of A. They are given momentum is half of A, like this. PB is half of A. That means PA by 2. Then PA, PB relation indirectly given in this question only. So that is indirectly given. So from that, the lambda is equal to h by phi formula applied for the two conditions. The two conditions are given lambda A by lambda B. The final win is calculated wavelength associated with the particle B only. So lambda B we have to calculate. So from this, what is lambda B? Lambda B is equals to lambda A into PA by PB. So that is substituted and finally we got lambda B is 10 power minus 7 meters. This is the answer for this one. Let us move to the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So this is nothing but the certainty of determination of one property introduces uncertainty of determination of other property. That means if you are ready to find the position of the particle like electron moving with high speed, then you can't find the momentum. If you find the momentum, you can't find the position. That is what we'll call it as a Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The uncertainty product is negligible in case of large products also, they have told. Now here that product delta x into delta v, the delta v can be written as m into delta v. That means the momentum can be written as m into v. That is also substituted and this is modified as delta x is into delta v is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi m. That is the formula. So in that formula I substitute, then delta x and delta v will become h by 4 pi m. So what is that? Heisenberg theory is telling that it states that if one is determined with right accuracy, then the other becomes uncertain. That means if you know delta x value, delta v value will become infinitive. If you know the delta v value, delta x value will become infinitive. So the product of the uncertainties is inversely proportional to the mass of the particle, that is 1 by m. And from these two conditions, you can write the Heisenberg formula as delta x into delta v. A condition by delta x into delta v, B condition is equal to mb by ma. And in this one, the significance of the uncertainty principle also you can observe here. The rules out the existence of definite pattern leads to probability, which can be given by quantum mechanical model. And the uncertainty positions of only 10 power minus 8 meters, then uncertainty velocity would become here like this 10 power plus 4 meter per second. A large value will come in this one. So that one for macroscopic objects it is difficult to understand. Now let's see the problem. A golf ball has a mass of 40 grams and a speed of 45 meters per second. If the speed can be measured with an accuracy of 2%, then calculate the uncertainty and the position. The uncertainty position is speed is given at 0.2%. This is 2% is given. So 2% is multiplied with that one, 45. We got 0.9 meter per second. Using this equation, the delta x is equal to h by 4 pi m delta v. After that, we substitution we got the uncertainty position as delta x is 1.46 to the power of minus 33 meters. And this uncertainty 10 power 18 times smaller than the diameter of typical atomic radius. What is the atomic radius? 10 power minus 15. Okay. And as mentioned earlier, for large particles, the uncertainty principle sets no meaningful limit to the precision of measurements. So that's why it should be discussed for only micro objects. Let us move to the important Schrodinger's wave equation quantum mechanical model. Important features of this one is explains the three-dimensional concept of moving electron, and this equation is based on de Broglie's wave equation only, and also Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Based on both this de Broglie and Heisenberg, they developed this one, and that is dou square psi by dou x square, dou square psi by dou y square plus dou square psi by dou y square plus 8 pi square m by h square into e minus v into psi is equals to 0, where they taken psi is the wave function amplitude of the wave, and m is the mass of the electron, h is the Planck's constant, e is the total energy of the electron, and that of v is the potential energy of the electron. X, y, z are the Cartesian coordinates. And it can also be written simply, that is like this, that is Laplacian operator, that is square into psi plus 8 pi square m by square into e minus v into psi. That can be written as Hamiltonian operator here, substituted. That means that can also be written like this: h cap psi is equals to e into psi. H cap is a mathematical operator called as Hamiltonian operator, where Hamiltonian operator will become equals to v minus h square by 4 pi square m into all this expression dou square by dou x square, dou square by dou y square, dou square by dou z square. And this Schrodinger wave equation gives the principal, azimuthal and magnetic quantum numbers, but not the spin quantum number. Very, very clearly, separately discuss the spin quantum number. So finally, quantum mechanical model, an advanced model, which leads to the development of quantum numbers. Now in this Schrodinger wave equation, keynote of wave mechanics and based upon the idea of electrons standing wave around the nucleus. And that standing wave for structured string is given taken like this: psi is equal to a sine 2 pi into x by lambda, and psi is the prolonged as sine. So this can be pronounced as psi gh. You can write psi. Some will write psi also. That is your wish. And the mathematical function representing the amplitude of wave. It is called as wave function, that is x. Here taken as x is wave function, and displacement of the direction is lambda, and the wavelength lambda, and a is a constant here. As differentiating this expression, finally they have derived that Schrodinger wave equation. First time differentiation, second differentiation, 2 times. Then after that, a into 2 pi x by lambda, that is taken psi, and simplified, and this one dou square psi by dou x square, which is equals to 4 minus 4 pi square lambda square into psi, because in this expression only they have a into sine 2 pi into x by lambda is there, that is taken as psi. That is taken as third equation. And after they remember the kinetic energy formula. In the kinetic energy also they have taken small modification, dividing the expression with m with numerator and denominator, and they are modified. And in this one we have they have taken m square v square expression from this de Broglie principle, and that is substituted. Later they have found that lambda square value as minus 4 pi square psi by d square psi by dx square. And after that they have taken the equation, fifth equation, kinetic energy. Both are solved. After solving that one, they got this expression. So total energy of the particle, kinetic energy plus potential energy, both they have substituted. And after that, this dou square psi by dou x square plus is equals to minus 8 pi square m by square into e minus p pe into psi. That is for x coordinate they got. Similarly, they got for y coordinate. Similarly, they got for z coordinate. And finally, the Schrodinger wave equation, which is for all the x, y, z coordinates, they are given as this is dou square psi by dou x square plus dou square psi by dou z square plus dou square psi by dou z square into 8 pi square m by square into e minus pe into psi is equal to 0. And after that, they developed what is the Laplacian operator and all. Okay. So let us move to the significance of the psi and psi square in the Schrodinger wave equation. Psi has no physical significance and represents the amplitude of the electron wave and boundary surface of an orbital. Now, what is psi square? Is the probable electron density and its probability of finding electron in a region that is three-dimensional space around the nucleus, which is also known as orbital. If psi square is positive, the electrons are present, and psi square is zero, the electrons are absent. An orbital is represented by psi star or psi square for showing electron density. So this is the electron density also. The probability of finding electron distance or from the nucleus in the region dr is given by 4 pi r square dr psi star. So in this case, the energy of an atom or molecule does not change. The another equation is given by this one that we have observed h cap psi is equals to e cap psi. So this here h cap psi h cap is equals to t cap plus v cap. T cap plus v cap psi became e into psi, where t is kinetic energy and v is the potential energy and e is the total energy, h is the Hamiltonian operator. But what is orbital? An orbital is a very variedly shaped. That means three-dimensional region around the nucleus where the probability of finding electron is maximum. And an orbital possesses a feature that is represent both the particle and wave nature of an electron. And that probability of finding electron in an orbital is more than 90%. Except the s orbital, the rest of all are directional in nature. And an orbital accommodates maximum of 2 electrons also discussed here with an opposite and anti-parallel spins. And in that maximum probability can be considered as 95% as per the recent studies. And now you can see the shapes of the orbitals according to that Schrodinger's solutions, and p, x, p, y, p, z, dx, dxy, dyz, dzx. You can also write dx square minus y square dz square like this. This is three-dimensional space that 90% boundary plots of this real forms of the p and d wave functions given. The specific level of the p and d orbitals depending on the direction of the orbital takes place in the 3D space. And this another one is the nodal planes. That means nodal planes of p and d orbitals. Each p orbital has one nodal plane and then each d orbital has two nodal planes here shown. This is the nodal plane here, and here for 2 are there for d orbitals. And for dz square, if you see here dz square case, this is quite different case here. The nodal planes are represented by single conical surface. This is a conical surface. This is one and this is one. And the solution are called as eigen functions for the Schrodinger's wave equation. And an atomic orbital, this can be written as r theta phi, and is the mathematical expressions where finally the coordinates given as r into theta into phi like this. And here there are two parts are there. One part is called as radial part, another part theta is called as angular part. And this depiction is depending on that theta is the angular dependence of the orbital, and it is independent, it is dependent on quantum numbers L and M. That L is azimuthal quantum number, M is magnetic quantum number. We'll see what are the degenerate orbitals. That's what we observed at 2px, 2py, 2pz, 3dxy, dyz, dxz. These are called degenerate orbitals having similar energies. And let us see what is the radial probability distribution function. Is the probability of finding electrons in a region between r and dr, delta r. And what about radial node? Is the region between the two successive orbitals. What is nodal point? It is a point where two lobes join and the electron density here is 0. What is nodal plane? It is a plane which separates the two lobes. Electron density here is 0. So no s orbital has nodal plane or point. But px, py, pz, dz square orbitals have nodal planes or points. The rest of the d orbitals means dxy, dyz, dzx, dxy minus y square have two nodal planes. It is given by 4 pi r square psi square dr is it is the radial probability distribution function, and the direction independent here, and r is the radius of distance from the nucleus. Dr is delta r is the thickness, and which is zero electron density region, there delta square will become 0. Now calculation of nodes. Node formula is n minus 1. Radial node or spherical nodes form n minus l minus 1. Angular node is nothing but L value. Non-spherical they are. Example 1s, if you take node is 0. 2s is node is 2 minus 1 is 1. Angular node is 0. Radial node is nothing but this is 2 minus L minus 1 for 2s is 1. Likewise for 3s you can calculate the node is 2. Angular node is 0. Radial node is 2. 4D node is 4 minus 1 is 3, angular node is 0. Why it is 0 angular node? Because n minus L minus 1, that is the n value is 4. The n value, L value for the d orbital is 2. Yeah, then it will become 1. And what about the radial node? The radial node is 4 minus 4 minus L minus 0, that is 3. 4 minus L minus 1. So they have given, but you can also observe the calculation part when they are given orbital in this case. Okay, let us move on to the nodal planes here. Px xy plane, py zx, pz. We have xy, dxy, yz and zx two are there. dyz two are there. dxz these two are there. dx square we have two are there. Yz and zx. Here dz square orbital has no nodal plane. That's what we observed. And finally, we understand the energies like this. The energy order is given like this: S less than P less than D less than F. Now various probability curves we can see now. This is for 1s, r versus r. This is radial function versus distance. Curve came like this. Here one node came for 2s, for 2p came like this. All we can observe now. This is 2s. This is also for 2s. R square of this function is and this is the graph here. One node came, and this distribution density here, density taken on the y-axis and r taken on the x-axis radius. Then the distance given these functions. So these are the plots of radial wave function R. First one, Roman 1 here, and second one is radial wave density. Probability density is this is r square taken on y-axis, and radial density function is taken on y-axis for the third Roman cases diagrams for 2p. Now we'll see 3s how the values here diagrams are shown. These are the graphical representations important for examination. And in this one, wave function is different for hydrogen orbital given as like this is the formulas, derived formulas, conceptual formulas. These will be the higher level studies. You will again get to know what is the derivation part of it. 1s is 2 by a power 3 by 2 into e power minus sigma, and 2s is given like this, 2p is given, and e power minus x is hyperbola curve here. This is, and a naught is a square by 4 pi square n k e square. That value we know, that is Bohr's radius, and sigma is taken as r by a naught, where r is the wave function, small r is the distance from the nucleus, r square is the intensity of the wave function. So these all things we have to study, and what are the peaks comes and also they will be considered as in the examination point of view. Now radial probability density, what we observed here, 4 pi r square, pi r square into psi square, that is taken like this. The radial probability is the probability of finding the electron, a radial shell between the spheres of radius r and r plus dr. So this is the radius for the bigger, this one is r plus dr, a smaller sphere is r, that spherical thickness is dr. Now in this they calculate the change, the dV value, and that thickness, the dV value after neglecting this 3r square dr and 3r dr square in the expression Finally, they have got the dV is 4 pi r square dr. So this value, this is the radial probability distribution for function where dV, whatever we are writing dV r square dV, that is got as 4 pi r square dr from this derivation part. And total probability distribution is r square dV. Finally, got r square into 4 pi r square dr. And that is nothing but radial distribution function. R is this is radial distribution function. The entire expression is radial distribution function. That is taken on the y-axis in the graphical representation. You can observe 4 pi r square value. Now, what about Z effective? That is Z minus sigma. That sigma is nothing but Slater-Roll calculation formula. That is that can be obtained using this formula. That is 1s 0.3 we have to take for other orbitals ns and np. General electron orbitals, we have to follow this rule, this formula. Valence electron minus 1 into 0.35 plus n minus 1 shells electron into 0.85 plus rest of the electron from n minus 1 shell and nucleus into 1. So this has to be expanded and you will come to know how that screening factor can be calculated. So D and F electrons, that is given differently. That can again can be, we will see in the next sessions. Let us move to the quantum numbers. The next one is quantum numbers. Quantum numbers are required for the complete explanation of electrons in an atom. We have 4 are there: principal, azimuthal, magnetic and spin quantum numbers. In this, principal quantum number is n. This is proposed by Niels Bohr and value is n, value 1 to 3 or KLMN, indicates the size and energy of the orbit. And with the increase in the energy, the size of energy orbital increases. Maximum number of electrons can be calculated using the formula 2n square in the orbit. Total number of orbitals can be calculated using n square, where n is the orbit, number of orbits, here angular momentum of electron given as nh by 2 pi. And for the principal quantum number, given principal quantum number 1 to 3, the letter designations are KLMN, and maximum number of electrons 2n square can be calculated like this: 2, 8, 18, 32 will come. However, the next one is azimuthal quantum number. It is proposed by Sommerfeld, and the values of L depending on n, and it starts from 0 to n up to n1, n minus 1 will be there. These are represented, various subshells are there here where these values 0, 1, 2, 3 and SPDF shells we can indicate. The energies order is this. Indicate the shape of an orbital and angular momentum of electron here. The total angular momentum of electron orbital given from this one is h by 2 pi into square root of L into L minus L plus 1, or h dash like this, h dash square root of L into L plus 1. H is Planck's constant, L is the azimuthal quantum number. If n value is 1, what is L value? 0, that is 1s. If n value is 2, L value is 0, that is 2s. L value is 1, that is 2p. If n value is 3, the L value is 0, that is 3s. L value is 1, that is 3p. L value is 2, that is 3d. Next, if n value is 4, then L value is 0, 4s. L1 is 4p, L2 is 4d, L3 is 4f. N value is 5 means this L0 5s, L1 5p, L2 5d, L3 5f, L5 5z. Let us say the magnetic quantum number value ml proposed by Landé. Value depends on L, and value ranges from plus L to 0 to minus L. The total m values are 2L plus 1. We have to know. Why? Because S orbital if you take, it is a 1, P orbital it is 3, D orbital it is 5, F orbital is 7, like that it will come. So the total number of m values indicates number of orbitals in the subshell. It indicates the orientation of the orbitals in the space. That is significance of this quantum number. And not only that one, number of orbitals you can calculate using 2L plus 1 formula in a subshell, or in a maximum number of electrons can be calculated using a 2 into 2L plus 1 using this expression, if you know the L value. So that is tablet here. Value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are there, means subshell symbols SPDF, GH here. Number of orbitals can be obtained 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 respectively. Number of electrons in these subshells, total number is, maximum number is 2, 6, 10, 14, 16, 14, 18, 22. Like that, this calculation can observe. And spin quantum number. Next one is spin quantum number. It is proposed by Goudsmit and Uhlenbeck. The values of spin quantum number a second plus or minus half, but it is not coming from Schrodinger equation, you have to remember. And each value of m can have two s values. That means one electron in the orbital can have two values. One is a plus or minus. Here see, this is clockwise direction. This is anti-clockwise direction. Now you see, this is the way we can observe the picture. And this is clockwise direction plus 1 by 2, anti-clockwise direction minus 1 by 2. Magnetic field is there. This is the spin angular momentum of electron. It can be obtained by h by 2 pi. The square root of s into s plus 1, where s is the total spin. And come to the maximum number of electrons in an orbital is 2. That we can understand from this quantum number. So maximum number of electrons present in sp, df are 2, 6, 10, 14 respectively. Now we can see all the quantum numbers in this tabular form. If it is 1 principal quantum number, then these are the values. Number of electrons accommodated is 2. If n value is 1, that is symbol is L, and all the spin quantum number values is magnetic quantum number values given. Total number of values electrons accommodated in that one is 8. If you take 3 third orbit, then total number is 18, and this SPD will come in this spin quantum number values always plus for clockwise electron, minus for anti-clockwise electron. The fourth orbit if you take, then you will be having maximum number here in this case is 32. So this is the most important tabular form for all the quantum numbers. Next, let us see the electronic rules. In that Hofbauer rule, first we'll see is a German word which means to build up. So it is called building up rule. Hofbauer is nothing but building up rule. In that n plus 1 rule is there. That is according to Hofbauer principle. Electrons are filled in different orbitals from lower n plus 1 value orbital to higher n plus L value orbital. So this is the order, increasing order of this orbital. 1s less than 2s less than 2p less than 3s less than 3p less than 4s less than 3d less than 4p less than 5s less than 4d less than 5p less than 6s less than etc. will come. In case if your n plus L value for the orbital is same, then electron is filled fast in the orbital with lower n value. For example, 3p 4s if you take, they have n value is 3 here, n value is 4, but n plus L value for both these things is 4. In that case, electron first goes to 3p shell. So all the different orbitals here tabulated, you can easily write in notes from this tabular form that you have a confusion is there in which orbital the electron first will enter and what kind of exceptional cases will come in the electronic rules you can observe from this tabular form. For example, we take 4f, then n is 4, L is 3, so total is n plus L is 7. If you take 3d, 3d is here 5 and 4p here 5. But if these two cases if you take, electron first enters in the 3d only, that is correct, not in the 4p. Okay, that is the Hofbauer principle. Now, and this is the Moeller diagram. We have Moeller diagram. If you see this Moeller diagram, you will come to know that the electronic picture, electron enters in which orbital and all from this diagram easily. Come to the violation of Hofbauer rule, how it can be done. See, NS1, NP4. The NS is not completed, but they have filled the p orbital. So that's why it is not possible according to Hofbauer rule, which is wrong. So this is why this is called as violation of Hofbauer rule. Now let us see the electronic configuration of some of the species here. Atomic number greater than 20. Arrange the orbitals in increasing order n plus n value to final configuration. But for example, if you take iron, 4s to 3d6 will come. Okay. 1s to 2s to 2p6, 3s to 4p6, after 3d6, after 4s2 will write. We will not write the 4s first. Okay. So both are same, but we have to write the final configuration like this. And This shows the electron distribution of electrons. Electronic distribution, various suborbits or orbitals. Now, what are the exceptional configuration? We have one exceptional configuration is there in the case 1. That is for chromium. Usually n-1 d4 ns2 incomplete orbital is there. n-1 d5 ns1 we can write it as both the orbitals are half filled, which is suggested. Then the d orbitals and which are less stable in the case of without half filled configuration. So d4 is unstable, d5 is stable. That is for chromium is identified. That is why 3d5 4s1 is exceptional configuration given against this rule. And finally, that chromium is given 3d5 4s1, not 3d4 4s2. The number of exchanges that can take place in d4 electronic configuration are lesser than the d5 configuration. That's why total number of exchanges is considered to change the electronic configuration of chromium, as well as copper also will come in the next case. So here I can see 3 exchanges. Exchange by 1 electron will be like this, exchange by second electron, exchange by third electron. Total exchange 6 came. Now number of exchanges that can take place in d5 configuration here total is 10 came, but that of we have in the case of d4 we got this is 6. What is the indication of this one is number of exchanges increase that stability of the species. So this is suggested. So d5 is suggested because of exchange energy. And coming to case 2, we have completely filled configuration is taken as more stable than d9 configuration of species incompletely filled orbital. So completely filled orbital leads to stability of the species, and this is d10 4s1 copper is suggested, but d9 4s2 is not suggested. That is the second case. So here we understand this electronic configuration things which are telling exceptional cases for copper and chromium. Moving on, some other exceptional configurations we have niobium is there, molybdenum is there, ruthenium is there, rhodium, palladium, silver, lanthanum, cerium, promethium, platinum, aurum. So gold is all said to be giving some exceptional behavior in the configurations. Pauli's exclusion principle next. Any orbital can have a maximum of 2 electrons with an opposite and anti-parallel spin. That is Pauli's rule. But no set of quantum numbers for this any 2 electrons in an atom is not same. That is also called as Pauli's exclusion principle. So no 2 electrons of an atom can have same set of all the 4 quantum numbers is most important statement you can consider. So all this if you consider in this orbital maximum electrons 2n square and suborbitals electron number and all these things we can calculate, we can understand from this Pauli's principle applications. Now let us move to the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. In this, in degenerate orbitals, electrons are filled in such a way that maximum stability and multiplicity can be obtained for the former. That is first, each degenerate orbital is singly occupied, then pairing of electrons takes place. So pairing of electrons takes place before each and every degenerate orbital is filled with single unpaired electron with parallel spins. That is our statement. So in this is pairing is there, this is empty orbital is there. So if you go accordingly, this is correct. Otherwise, without pairing, if you write it, the orbital electronic configuration, then that won't be correct. Next, what about the multiplicity formula? 2 modulus of the spin value plus 1, 2s plus 1. If you consider ns2 np3 for example, then in this, what is the spin? The spin is nothing but here 3 electrons are there in p orbital. Total spin is 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. So 3/2 came because in the ns level the spin is total value 0 because one is plus 1/2, another one is minus 1/2. Now what is the multiplicity? The 2 into this 3/2 is substitute in the formula, we got 4. That is the spin multiplicity. Applications of Hund's rule, if you check it here in this one, find the number of unpaired electrons, it is useful, and to write the correct stable electronic configuration also it is useful. If you write the chromium 3d4 4s2 and 3d5 4s1, the spin multiplicity plays an important role. To find the number of unpaired electrons, so 3d5 4s1, number of unpaired electrons is 6. Find the multiplicity m and spin s values here, that is from this value to s plus 1, you can calculate 3d5 4s1, 6 plus 1, that is the multiplicity. And a number of spins here, that is n by 2, that is 3. For that one, that is the formula also you can use. That you can substitute in the Bohr-Magdalena expression also to find this expression. Square root of n into n plus 2, where n is equals to 1 to 3 is there paramagnetic and 4, 5, 6 is there ferromagnetic. To find the color also, this is important rule, that is if n is 0, colorless, and if n value is 1 to 3, they are colored. So that is magnetic moments also you can calculate, and color also we can calculate. Now once again, we'll check it out. What is electronic configuration? It is represented by NLX notation. It's the Moeller diagram notation, you can write it. So this is the distribution of electrons into orbitals of an atom, which is called as electronic configuration. And electrons in the inner shells are called core electrons, and electrons that are added to the electronic shell with the highest principal quantum number are called as valence electrons. Now let us see the stability of the completely filled half-filled orbitals. The reason is nothing but completely filled half-filled orbitals are stable because of one thing, that is a symmetrical distribution of electrons. So D4, D5 in this, which is symmetrical, D5 is symmetrical. Okay, that's why that is stable. And its well-known symmetry leads to the stability, and completely filled half-filled subshells have symmetrical distribution of electrons in them and are more stable. Moving on to the exchange energy. What is the second important factor of the stability is stabilizing effect arises whenever two or more electrons with the same spin are present in the degenerate orbitals of a subshell. That is telling about the exchange energies, and these electrons tends to exchange their positions, and energy released to the exchange is called as exchange energy. And the number of exchange that take part in the maximum when the subshell is either half filled or completely filled. So this is most important point. That means the exchanges that can take place maximum when the subshell is either half filled or completely filled. So as a result, what will happen is the maximum energy exchange will give maximum stability to the atom. A number of exchanges formula given as sigma n minus 1 here. This can also be written as n into n minus 1 by 2 exchange energy, where n is the number of electrons having parallel spin. Now you can see the parallel spin electrons here. Here first electron, here second electron shown, here third electron, here fourth electron shown. Here 4 exchanges by electron 1 observed, 3 exchanges by electron 2 observed, and 2 exchanges by electron 3 observed, and only 1 exchange by electron 4 observed. That is the thing what we have noticed, the exchanges in this discussion. So that will give more stability to the atoms. Okay. I think you have observed different points in this session, and we are going to wind up this session. We have concluded this session. Okay. So thank you very much for being with us in this session. So in this session, we discussed a lot of points related to atomic structure up to electronic configurations. In the coming sessions, in the other sections, we have general regular crash programs are there. In that programs, I will give you the objective angle also. This is the theoretical angle, and concepts remember, then you can easily crack some of the theory questions as well as some small problems also from this session. Okay. Thank you very much, and we will meet in the next session with a new topic which is useful for coming JEE NEET examinations and also for regular board examinations. So thank you very much.